Hey everybody, one of the things I've talked about before is the crossover between my life in 12-step recovery and then my coaching work. And one of the coolest things I've been able to bring from that recovery world to the coaching world is resentment processing. And I think that it's hugely beneficial for those of us. It's hugely beneficial for anyone, but in particular, those of us in recovery, you don't get to escape your reality. So walking around with any kind of resentment towards a person, place, thing, or situation for any extended period of time is like not good. But I think that speaks true for all of us. So I bring that into my coaching world, and I wanted to run through kind of like how I do the resentment processing with someone who is a coaching client. So part one is identification. Who or what are you resentful towards? When did the situation occur? And then I want you to like write down your immediate emotional response when you think about the situation. The second part is impact analysis. And so what we look at there is how has the resentment affected your peace of mind, your relationships, your physical health, your spiritual well-being, and your professional life. Okay, once we go through that, then we move into part three, which is the personal inventory part. And that is to look at like, what was your role in the situation? You want to list your fears. What were your self-seeking motives? Were there any dishonest behaviors involved and like selfish attitudes that you represented in the situation? And again, this is all about the personal piece for you. This is about us taking ownership over our part in situations, not anything to do with the other party involved. Part four is a perspective shift. So what we're trying to do here is look at how we move from the resentment to kind of a sense of peace around the situation. So we look at what might the other person's perspective be, or the other institution's perspective be? What factors in their life might have influenced their actions? What is a possible alternative interpretation of the situation? Like, is it possible that our view on what has happened is not centered? This is kind of, again, like something I talk about with presence and the capacity to be aware in a situation is like the capacity to pull back the lens of the zoom from what our perspective is to a more generalized, hopefully objective perspective. Part five then is when we're going to look at the releasing of the resentment. So, I like to have people write an informal letter to the person or place or situation or institution describing their feelings, their needs, and what their wishes for a resolution to the situation would be. Then the second question you would ask in that situation is like, what would letting go of the resentment give you? And then the third thing is to list an action you can take to start releasing the resentment. What is something you can do actively to help get over this thing? Part six, now we're like looking more at the growth aspect of this thing. And so it's looking at like, what lesson can we learn from processing this resentment and this experience? How can the challenge help us grow stronger? And like, what boundaries do we need to set moving forward to hopefully prevent us getting into a situation where we have built up this resentment in the future? So that's a quick rundown on that, and hope you guys have a great day. Bye.